Hello, friends, and welcome to this live edition of Syracuse Sports. This is Syracuse basketball postgame presented by Krause Health, the exclusive healthcare partner for Syracuse Athletics. My name is Brent Axe. A big thanks to those of you that are, I don't know if we're staying up late or we're staying up early because it's 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here as we begin a late night postgame show after a 9 o'clock game at the JMA Wireless Dome. And man, look, let's start here. Syracuse won the game. Syracuse defeated St. Joseph's tonight, or last night technically, at the JMA Wireless Dome, 71-63. It was in the category of a win is a win, survive and advance, any cliche that you want to apply to this, okay? It was not the prettiest night at the Dome. We'd be having a much different conversation if Syracuse lost this game, which was in play. St. Joseph's came in and gave Syracuse a real punch in the nose. They worked Syracuse in the paint. They out-rebounded Syracuse by 10, 44-34, had way too easy of a time scoring inside. This is the 248th rated team in the net ranking. A loss would have been an absolute disaster for Syracuse 9 days after a win over Tennessee, at that time the 13th ranked team in the country that sent Syracuse's net ranking up. This would have been a disaster, but we're not in the what if category here. We're talking about what really happened. What really happened is Syracuse won the game, okay? It was a night, let's be honest here, guys, the vibes were off. Everywhere, the vibes were off. Syracuse had 9 days off coming into this game. Syracuse, New York, had a pretty crappy day in terms of lake effect, snow. Just, it's not even winter yet. And, remember that line from Forrest Gump? It started raining and it didn't stop for 4 months. It started snowing the day after Thanksgiving in Syracuse, and I don't think it's stopped since. It was just one of those crappy lake effect days. The roads are terrible. It was a 9 o'clock tip time at the Dome. Can I just say something about that for a minute? Usually 9 p.m. tip times come because there's a 7 o'clock game on the ACC network, and you just kind of have to eat it, right? Not tonight, not this case, and someone really screwed up here. You cannot have 9 o'clock games at the Dome unless absolutely necessary, especially on a weeknight. There was not a game on at 7 o'clock on the ACC network. There was a replay of some football show on. Who screwed that up? I don't know if it was at the ACC network. I don't know if it was at Syracuse. I heard a rumble that it was, I think they wanted the game later because it's finals week at Syracuse. I don't know who screwed that up, but you had a bad night too, buddy, because you do not put games at 9 o'clock unless absolutely necessary. Now add in the crappy weather. They listed attendance at just over 12,000 people there tonight. Not the case. So the crowd was low. The vibes were off. The crowd wasn't into the game. Shout out to those of you that slipped and slided your way to the Dome to watch this game and be there tonight. But, Syracuse crowds, I love you guys, but sometimes I got to slap you on the wrist a little bit. Syracuse crowds are very reactive. They're not very proactive. Even the students that showed up were not into this game. Like, no one was into this game. Syracuse has a few players that are sick on the roster. I talked to Nathan George after the game, and he did not sound good. He has had some flu-like symptoms as of late. It doesn't excuse how he's played for the last 5 games overall. That is a concern that Nathan George is not evolving into the point guard that Syracuse needs him to be at this point. But he is sick, and there are a few players on this team that are sick, right? So I know what I sound like I'm doing here is making a lot of excuses for this team. But I'm going to do something that I rarely do here. I'm going to give them a pass. I'm going to give Syracuse a pass on this night. That doesn't change the fact that their free throw shooting is still a major concern. How about this? This game tonight matched up the number 1 team in the country in free throw shooting. St. Joseph's came in at 81.3%. They had a bad night at the free throw line. By their standards, Tyler Betsy afterwards for Syracuse to say, I'm not going to lie, the Dome is not an easy place to shoot. Teams come in, that perception throws them off. There's always been a discussion about whether or not that's the case because I've seen plenty of teams come in and shoot well at the Dome. But at the free throw line tonight, St. Joseph's was 18 of 27, 67%, which, by the way, Syracuse would take and run with every game. The Orange at the free throw line were 15 of 28. It's 54%. So that continues to be a concern. The lack of any kind of identity on offense. I'm not excusing that because that was the case again. And I think there were reasons for that tonight. We mentioned that Nathan George wasn't feeling well and a few other guys weren't feeling well. This team had finals this week. Yes, they are still student athletes with all the talk of NIL and everything in college sports today. Yeah, they still go to class and have to take exams like the rest of the student body, right? So, look, the vibes were off. We all have these days, okay? We all get up on the tee sometimes and hit a drive, shank it off in the woods, and you immediately say, I need a mulligan, right? You immediately turn to your playing partner and say, guys, I need a mulligan, right? I teach a class up at Syracuse. They let you teach there? Yeah, they do. And this just happened to me this week. I had a student come up to me. They were very honest, like, look, I screwed this up. I screwed up this assignment. It's not good work. I do not want to turn this in. Give me another chance. Please give me an extension on this. Give me another chance, and I will prove to you that I will do better next time. And as a professor, I granted that extension, right? Because sometimes you just have a crappy week or a crappy day, and it sounds like you're making excuses, but there's a fine line between excuses and reasons, right? So I'm going to give Syracuse a pass on this one, but it comes with an asterisk, and it comes with a warning. Hofstra comes into the Dome on Saturday, and the last thing that Syracuse can do is play the way they did tonight against Hofstra. Hofstra, Brent, what are we talking about here? This Syracuse just played Tennessee. Did you see that game? They just played 3 in a row in Las Vegas against 3 top 25 teams, played well against Houston, played well against Kansas, relatively speaking, in certain ways why they lost those games. They got their doors blown off by Iowa State. It might be the best team in the country. You're telling me I should worry about Hofstra? I'm telling you should worry about Hofstra. Now, Pitt is not Pitt this year. Pitt stinks this year. Hofstra beat Pitt. So take that for what it's worth, that Hofstra beat a Pitt team that is down by Pitt standards. But Hofstra had a player, and I want to look up his name. I want to give him his propers here. I believe his name is Cruz, okay, who came into that game and dropped 36 points on Pitt. Hofstra is 7-4 this year, and I want to pull up their schedule here, all right? Hofstra lost to Central Florida by 4 points. Hofstra lost to Iona 81-73, and that's kind of a regional rivalry type game. They lost to Temple by 5. They lost to Columbia by 2. Notice a pattern in all those losses. Even in the 4 games they've lost this year, none by more than 10 points. We mentioned they beat Pitt. Hofstra can play. And I want to double check this while we're speaking here. I believe last I looked at it. So tonight, Syracuse played a team in St. Joseph's who, by the way, side note, the St. Joseph's Hawk flaps his wings the entire game. Have you guys ever seen this? He doesn't, I'm not making this up. The St. Joseph's Hawk mascot flaps his wings. He does this. He flaps his wings the entire game. Even during timeouts. Doesn't stop. Doesn't stop. It is mesmerizing, right? So I just had to mention that. Other fun fact about St. Joe's, Joe Lenardi, he of bracketology fame, is the color analyst on the St. Joseph's radio network. So the bracketologist himself came in and saw Syracuse at their absolute worst, even in a win in this game tonight, right? So speaking of net rankings, St. Joseph's came into this game 248th in the country. I want to double check myself because last I looked, Hofstra, let's see where they are. Hofstra, 94th as I look at this. Guys, they're legit. They are a legit team. For those of you, I'm going to pick on my guy here, Frankie S., one of our great Syracuse Sports Insiders, and we're going to hear from our Syracuse Sports Insiders coming up here. We got a couple from the secret voicemail line as well. Let's put it on the screen so you can become a Syracuse Sports Insider and have the ability to text me directly anytime. Frankie S. says, I'll never apologize for a win, but holy cow. This staff needs to keep this team sharp on long layoffs. The Hawks could have easily won this game. Too much ISO ball, again with the lousy free throw shooting, lineups that make no sense. I'm glad Hofstra's coming to town in 2 days. A blowout is in order to get the mojo back. Frankie. Hofstra can win this game. Hofstra can win this game. Now, it's not to say if Syracuse is at its best, they can't blow out Hofstra. Certainly they can. But Hofstra's got a 94 net ranking. We mentioned the losses that they've had. None by more than 9 points. This team's legit. So I'm going to give you a break on this one tonight. I'm going to give you a break on just sometimes you don't have it. Everybody has a bad day. We mentioned all the reasons. Some will call them excuses, and that's fine if you do. Crappy, snowy day, 9 days off, 9 o'clock tip time, finals this week. A few guys on the team are sick. Oh, our pets' heads are falling off, right? If you get that reference. I got you. I'll give you the mulligan. It expires Saturday at 4 o'clock because you cannot play that way against Hofstra and beat Hofstra. Yes, Hofstra. They're not a joke. They are not a joke. St. Joe's came in at 248 in the net ranking, and they've had success in recent years. And that's a good, solid A-10 program, but not a team that should be punking Syracuse in the paint to the extent that they did. So it's a darn good thing for Syracuse that Tyler Betsy had 16 points. Now, he was 1 of 6 at the free throw line, but Betsy had this weird sense of timing tonight. He beat the shot clock, I believe, on 3 different occasions or got fouled right when the shot clock was winding down. And here is Tyler Betsy, by the way. Chatted with him a bit after the game and just on what he's doing for this team and the role that he's starting to play. And this was one of the bigger games that Betsy has had for Syracuse all year for sure. He kind of saved their hide in this game. I'm not going to lie, guys.
The role that you can, contribute at. If you can shoot and score and do all those things, it's going to let you do that. But once you start trying to be outside yourself, so I know I can score and I know I can play defense. So just when I get in, I'm just trying to score and make plays on defense.
Betsy with 16. Nate Kings had 14 points in this game, a few from the three-point line. Again, nobody really played great on offense in this game. You look at the numbers. Oh, Syracuse shot 47%. They were 25 of 53. No. 5 guys in double figures. No. Bad offensive night. No organization on offense, rushing shots, the same old things we've been talking about with this team. There's no organization. They don't run an offense. Okay, that's not an excuse. I'm excusing some other things from tonight. That's not an excuse. This team has got to find some discernible identity on offense. And I know that Nathan George wasn't feeling well and some of the things I brought up. Okay, I get it. But you have no discernible identity on offense and you can't shoot free throws. These things have not changed all year and they need to improve if Syracuse is going to play to its potential and have Joe Lenardi, who was in the building tonight. And you could talk about other bracketologists and other metrics out there. That's fine. Joey Brackett's invented this stuff. If you want him talking about this team in the conversation for the tournament, those things have to get discernibly better. And this is the time you've got to do it. See, that's the waste of a game tonight. You have 5 games before you start ACC play against Clemson on New Year's Eve. You need to use the Hofstra game, the St. Joe's game, the Stonehill game, the Mercyhurst game to get the offense cranking. And again, no Donnie Freeman tonight. 5th straight game that he missed. He was shooting very, very early in warm-ups. Basically before the Dome opens, he was out there shooting. He's moving better. He's getting closer. Okay, John Rothstein is going to tweet every game day that he's a game-time decision. We'll see when we get there. He will be back on the court before Syracuse plays in an ACC game against Clemson. I believe that. I think he's getting closer, and you need him a game or two to get back into rhythm. Syracuse had 9 days off coming into this game. He hasn't played in 5 games, which is a few weeks, right? So they're doing all this without Donnie Freeman. Let's keep in mind. But next man up and all that fun stuff. William Kyle, 12 points and 11 rebounds. Where would this team be without William Kyle? I'm going to tell you right now, they wouldn't be 6-3. William Kyle, to this point, I understand we're barely at the quarter pole of the season, has been the MVP of this team. He has been the MVP of this team. Stressing the V, valuable. He has been so darn valuable, bringing a different presence to the paint. He was struggling to get you could see the frustration on his face in this game that the guard play was awful in this game. It was awful. Nathan George had a couple of nice drives to the basket. JJ made a couple of plays. What were JJ's final numbers in this game? 5 of 13, 11 points, 0 of 3 from three-point range. JJ didn't have a good game. You know who else did not have a good game? And some of it is he's a freshman, and some of it is he's just got to recalibrate how he plays. Kyan Anthony did not play well in this game and has not played well in the past few games. 6 points tonight. He was 1 of 6 from the field. Most of that came at the free throw line, which is good. 4 of 5. Got to make your free throws when you get there, but you need more out of him in 20 minutes. Sadiq White did not play well in this game. If you're going to get out there and play 19 minutes, you got to be better than 2 points and 2 rebounds, right? The guys that got big minutes in this game, for the most part, did not look in sync offensively, with the exception of William Kyle, with the exception, and again, Kyle went 6 of 9 at the free throw line. I'll take that from him every day of the week and twice on Sunday. At one point, I think he was 5 of 5 at the free throw line. Oh, hallelujah. You will take that from him. Kings, Kyle, and Betsy. Those were your 3 tonight. I know 2 other guys got into double figures, but let's make no mistake about it. This was not a great offensive night. It wasn't a particularly great defensive night from Syracuse, but the defense was good enough. But when I see points in the paint, you only won by 6. When I see that St. Joe's out-rebound Syracuse 44-34, again, I'm going to cut you a break. I'm going to cut you a break tonight because you got the win. But that expires. That expires very soon because these are the games where you really got to get the engines cranking and go into ACC play on a high note. I wrote about this in my newsletter this week, which comes out on Thursday, so you guys should subscribe to that. This week is the 7-year anniversary, and nobody's getting a card for this, but it's the 7-year. You know the last time that Syracuse was ranked in the top 25 Associated Press poll? December 10th, 2018. It has been 7 years and counting, 7 seasons and counting. The last stretch Syracuse had was, oh boy, pardon me, it's 1:20 in the morning and I'm forgetting here, but let me see if I can pull it up real quick. So this ties the longest stretch that they have had where they have not been ranked in the history of the program. Just give me a sec to find it here, guys. So the poll, they have been doing the poll. Yeah, here it is. Syracuse's poll drought is tied for the longest in program history. Syracuse also had a 7-season stretch from 1957 to 1964 where it did not appear in the poll. So the last 5 years of the Boeheim era, they weren't ranked, which extends into the first couple of the Autry era here. Before that, there were only 2 seasons, 1981-82 and 2017-18, where a Jim Boeheim team was not in the poll. Now think about that. So that's like 41 out of 47 years. They had a team ranked just consecutively through the years. They have not been ranked since 2018. If you're going to get in that conversation, you have to beat teams that are in the poll, which they did do. This year they beat Tennessee, but lost to 3 other teams that were in the poll. Or you have to just go on this monster win streak. St. Joe's, Hofstra, the teams down the stretch here for Syracuse on the schedule. They play Clemson to open ACC play on New Year's Eve, and then the 4 ACC games after that are the bottom 4 teams in the league right now. Okay? I'm not saying Syracuse can go on an extended winning streak. If they play like they did tonight, of course they're not going to. But that's how you get back in the conversation to be a ranked team. That's how far away from that they still are at this point, right? How you have to be clicking on all cylinders just to be in that conversation. But just a little reminder of where we're at here. The focus, as it should be, the edict that is on Adrian Autry this year is to get this team back in the NCAA tournament. That is far more important than getting back in the rankings. But being in the top 25 ranking, it's a status symbol. It's especially important for television because you get, not that we watch SportsCenter the way that we used to, but you get priority for SportsCenter highlights. You're on the ESPN bottom line. That people do see that while you're watching other sports and other games. You look on the ESPN ticker, the bottom line, like the ticker that's on your screen promoting our Syracuse Sports Insider text line right now. You're a ranked team. You're on that thing. We're going to see the scores of that game. I don't think I really have to sell you on why it's a good thing to be in the top 25, but you don't know what you got till it's gone. And it's been 7 years, tying the longest stretch in Syracuse basketball history. By the way, Syracuse has been ranked in that poll 550 times. That's 9th all time in college basketball history. And the other teams on that list are who you think they are: Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina, UCLA, the Blue Bloods. 9th all time. So just something to think about here. I did ask Adrian Autry. I want to play this clip for you. So I brought, you'll hear me ask the question, like, a lot of circumstances tonight that just add up to a blah kind of night. How do you handle that?
We got to do a better job of that.
Brad, this was a night, you mentioned you struggled to get to level 5, 9 o'clock tip, snowy night, not a great crowd. So on nights like this, how do you kind of self-start and get that team to where it needs to be?
Yeah, that's at the juicer station. Again, the juicer station wasn't at level 5 today. And this is the 7th game in a row, right? 9 o'clock start. We've had some energy, some juice and energy level 5 issues. So we got to work on that. I think we got a couple more during the season. So that's something that we'll address and continue to push and work. But again, this is always going to be a tough game for us. I know when you see the schedule, we get 9 days off. The team that has been in the rhythm, they played 2 or 3 games, and they've been playing well. So we knew they would come in confident. The same thing as Hofstra. So I'm glad we kind of did what we needed to do. Obviously, you got to continue to get better. We're 8 games in, so 9 games in, we got to get better. We got to continue to get better.
Going into
the good old juicing station, right? Where was Noah Lobdell and his crew tonight? We mentioned the crowd was bad. Like, this was just throw this away. Don't even look at the tape. And it's a good thing you do have another game coming up in 48 hours or so. But remember, we're getting into winter breaks. Students are going out of town for winter break. You get some of those Saturdays that people are like, am I going to go to the game or am I going to go Christmas shopping? It's a 4 o'clock tip on Saturday, thankfully, not another ridiculous 9 o'clock start. So the juicing station, the energy, that's all going to come from how this team plays, right? That's all. You have to self-start sometimes. It's great when the crowd gets into it. It's great when your offense is clicking, a few dunks happen, and you just feel the juice and you feel the momentum. Sometimes you have to self-start. This was not that night for Syracuse. I asked William Kyle about that, by the way, how you deal with crowds and vibes that can kind of be off. He's got a little experience.
Throughout my whole career, I've had a lot of games like that. Being at the mid-major level at South Dakota State, there'd be a lot of games. You show up, there's not a lot of people there. Just because it's the mid-major level, not every mid-major has a fan base like South Dakota State did. And so the biggest thing with games like those is just you got to create energy for yourselves. And I feel like that starts with the bench, that starts with the guys out there. So we got to be mentally mature to go out there and execute the way that we know we're capable of. And I feel like we didn't do that fully tonight. I feel like it kind of reflects in the final box score and just getting out rebounding and stuff like that. We have those things that we just continue to need to work on for sure.
You know where that comes from? That comes from paint play. That comes from getting the ball into Kyle, into Betsy, into Donnie Freeman when he's there. Couple of dunks, couple of easy buckets, 8-0, 10-0, 12-0 run, get the crowd into it, into a timeout. That's how you self-start. That's how you get the juice going. Syracuse got worked in the paint. Worked by St. Joe's of all teams in the paint tonight. That is not excusable. There's a few things I'm like, whatever, I'm giving you a mulligan. You can't get worked in the paint by St. Joe's. You can't. Hofstra is a good team. Hofstra is going to push Syracuse's buttons on Saturday. You mark my words, right? So you get a mulligan tonight, but you don't get 2. Nobody gets 2 mulligans on the tee. You hit another bad tee shot after this one, that's on you. Let's go to our Syracuse Sports Insiders, who were pretty fired up during this one. Always passionate. Great to hear from some of the insiders that actually made the effort to get to the Dome tonight through the frozen tundra and the late start, and a lot of reasons just to stay home and watch this one by the fireplace, frankly. But shout out to some of our insiders that I was texting with who were at the game and wherever you were watching tonight, including from Don P., who says, I'm glad for this ugly win. I know a big deal was made about the football team replacing the defensive coordinator. Can I ask for the basketball team to replace the offensive coordinator? That's still something that really frustrates me. This team has no discernible offensive identity. It just doesn't, and that has got to change. That has got to change in a hurry. They do not have a discernible offensive identity. As some of you point out here as we go through some more of the Syracuse Sports Insider texts from Doug H., I see a team that, although is much more competitive last season, is going to end up in the same place if they don't get this cleaned up. These are deep-seated issues, and they're a hallmark of Autry's coaching at Syracuse. So he's talking about the offensive flow that I was into in the free throw shooting, which has been pretty bad. Syracuse came into this game 360th in the country. Only one team is worse at the free throw line in the country than Syracuse. Not good. Seth B., Kyle's a beast. Another impressive stat line, and 6 out of 9 at the free throw line, but this team's free throw shooting overall is going to cost them wins in the ACC if it is not fixed. From Nathan M., who says, I just can't take this team seriously. The middle of the ACC is going to be very competitive this year, meaning a lot of games that will slip away with this awful free throw shooting. From Sean M., who says, biggest surprise so far this season is how good William Kyle is. The biggest disappointment is Nathan George, how much he has not been a point guard for this team. Look, I'm concerned about this, guys. I am concerned about, now tonight he was sick and everybody has bad days, so I'll throw that aside. But he has been on a streak here, starting in Vegas, where he just has not been good. He has not been the point guard Syracuse needs him to be. And I'm kicking myself because I meant to ask him this question tonight. I will ask him Saturday. And that question is basically, I want to think of the right way to ask it, but it's basically like, what is the big difference between what you ran at Georgia Tech versus what you ran here at Syracuse? Because I feel like there was more structure at Georgia Tech, and I wonder if Nathan George is struggling with an offense that has no structure. Weird as that sounds, because as a player, you just want to go out there, you want to be free, you want to create, but this offense has no structure. So is Nathan George a better point guard in an offense that has a purpose, that has a roadmap, that has a specific role that he plays? Because you can't just ask a point guard to go out there and lead a team. He needs to know, like I said, what side of the road I'm on here. Where are we going here? What's the goal? What's the offense? What am I doing? This ISO pick and roll, just kind of go out there and it's like it's like jazz, right? Just improvise. Here you go. Here's a trumpet. Go out there and give me an 8-minute song. No. This offense needs structure, and I think he's struggling with that. I meant to ask him that, but I will next time. Just a theory of mine. Brian C. says, look at the deal. This team has a ceiling on how successful they can be this year because of their free throws. And he adds this. Think about it. What team in the history of the NCAA tournament ever won with a bad free throw percentage? It's hard to be super excited about this team. This point, they're good, not great. And let's see. I played Frankie's clip earlier. Frankie, don't be looking past Hofstra, I'm telling you. To the secret voicemail line we go. And if you want the secret voicemail number, that means you got to be a Syracuse Sports Insider. Being a Syracuse Sports Insider gives you direct text message access to me anytime. We just highlighted some of those texts. You can text me anytime. Your thoughts, questions, opinions on all matters of Syracuse sports, and your voice highlighted exclusively here on our Syracuse basketball postgame shows. And being a Syracuse Sports Insider gives you access to the secret voicemail line. Here is voicemail number 1.
Hey, Brent. Not that Jim B. Watching this team is definitely a Jimmy V full day. Makes me laugh watching William Kyle fly around, dunk, and be this team's best foul shooter tonight. I'm also brought to tears watching the rest of this team shoot foul shots. And lastly, I'm deep in thought wondering what the heck are they trying to do on offense. Have a good night.
Thank you. Not that Jim B. He's become a regular on the secret voicemail line. Here is voicemail number 2.
Hey, Brent. This is Brian from Virginia, born and raised in Syracuse. This team has a ceiling, and the ceiling is entirely determined by their ability to shoot free throws. And the problem with that is you can work on defense, you can work on your offense, you can work on boxing out better, which they need to, right? But I don't think they have a solution for free throws, and that's going to cap their success this year, guaranteed. If they can make it to the tournament, which I think that they might, they're going to have a game where free throws are going to lose it for them. You've never seen a team win the national championship that shoots free throws this bad. So I think we can hope for a good season, but they just can't have a great season with this free throw shooting. All right, well, let's hope I'm wrong and go Syracuse. Thanks for everything you do, Brent. Later.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it, my friend. And look, why wait till then? They're going to lose ACC games this way. They could lose to Hofstra this way. They could have lost tonight. St. Joe's cut them a break, the best free throw shooting team in the country. If they go out there and shoot 67%, that's bad for them. St. Joe's gave them a few points back. Don't wait till then. It's going to cost them important games, multiple games. If it continues at this, when you're the second worst free throw shooting team in the country, that's kind of a problem. So think of what you have to do to make up for that on the offensive end, the cushion you have to give yourself. And Adrian I should have cut this clip too, but you can watch the full press conference. They post them all on YouTube. Donna DeToda asked Adrian about this. Are you concerned that teams are going to put you at the free throw line on purpose because your percentage is off? Right? And he admitted, yes, it's a concern. And as great as William Kyle is, the energy that he brings and the paint presence, you can't have him on the free throw line when it matters. Tyler Betsy showing tonight, as much as he was clutch in this game, can't be on the free throw line when it matters. Kyan Anthony has struggled at the free throw line. He was good tonight, but JJ's still working through the hitch in his free throw stroke. There's too many free throw issues on this team, right? It's going to cost them a game. This is unavoidable. It is unavoidable that it's going to cost them. Forget the NCAA tournament, okay? It's going to cost them an ACC game or 2 or 5 if it continues at this point. I know that free throws matter. That's my brand. That's Autry. Shout out to Adrian. Actually joked about it today. He looked at me and goes, Brent, I know free throws matter, right? But there's a reason that I harp on this. And now to see that this team is the epitome of why free throws matter. They got a break tonight. St. Joe's came in, couldn't handle it, couldn't handle the depth in the dome, whatever it was. Maybe the Hawk mascot was flapping his wings too much. The breeze from all the flapping threw off the free throws. They got lucky. They got lucky in that case. But if they don't fix this thing, it is going to be an Achilles heel. Flat out. If it isn't already in the way that it affects how this team plays. And you guys certainly have noticed that. But Uncle Brent is going to give you a break tonight. Doesn't change my concerns about free throw shooting and the lack of identity on offense and some patterns there. What you can't let happen now, and we'll close on this thought, you cannot let what happened tonight be a pattern. We're going to cut you a break that you had 9 days off. That it was a 9 o'clock tip. Crappy weather. People on the team are sick. All that stuff. We're going to cut you a break tonight, okay? Professor Axe is going to give you an extension. It expires on Saturday. This cannot become a pattern, what we saw tonight. So we're going to cut you a break. We got you, right? Everybody has bad days. It happens. It's a long season. It's a grind. There's some nights, as the kids would say, the vibes are off. But that can't be the case again Saturday. Find the vibes. Find the juicing station, okay? Get yourself together, figure it out, because Hofstra's good. That cannot be, they're 94 in the net ranking. Okay. This team's 248 in the net ranking. Disaster if you lose. So I guess you can talk me, well, Brent, if they lose that one, it's not the worst thing. You got to beat Hofstra. But Hofstra's good. That's when we'll meet again, friends, at a more reasonable hour. Thanks to those of you that stayed up late and watched this show live. You're sickos, and I love you for it. I love you for it. But please subscribe on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, so you can watch the show when you want on demand. And that's when we'll be back with you Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening mostly, after Syracuse plays Hofstra. 4 o'clock tip time on that one at the JMA Wireless Dome. Please subscribe, and you'll also get episodes of Syracuse Sports. Had a conversation this week with Dave Briggs from the Toledo Blade. He told us all about Syracuse's new defensive coordinator, Vince Karras, answered some questions from the insider. So we've got our live post-game shows and, of course, the staple show, if you will, the regular podcast that you get regularly by subscribing on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. So please do that, my friends. Thanks for hanging with us tonight. Really appreciate it. We'll be back soon. Syracuse and Hofstra, Saturday at the Dome. For now, the Orange grind one out. They did win this game. A win is a win in that case, beating St. Joe's 71-63. This has been Syracuse Basketball Postgame presented by Krause Health, the exclusive healthcare partner for Syracuse Athletics. My name is Brent Axe. We will catch you next time, guys.